Hello, hello, hello. In this video we are gonna go over the long boy, the slickest of the one, the most fabulous tanks of them all, and of course it is the KV4 KTTS, the Russian premium tank, the Russian tank destroyer I should say, which is a premium tank. And yes, the KV4, it comes from the tech tree KV4, but they said, you know what, we're gonna make it better, we're gonna make it into a tank destroyer. And how do we do that? Well, we give it the same gun as the KV4, we ramp up the alpha a little bit, and then we make it, then we make this huge compartment in the back. And this tank is big, like it's enormously big. Like if you like go here in side script, you take up the whole space. There's no one that can be behind you. And it's both funny and also not funny to play. I mean, this situation is funny to play because then you get to utilize the greatness of the tank. And here I'm trying to find the millimeter of being able to shoot this cupola. This is one of my first few games with the tank, so I'm very off with how it works and what to do with it. Obviously I get some idea of the tank, and as you can see it's a long boy. This is not a small thing, and I realized there's a backshot behind us somehow. He snuck up. I was not paying attention, I was going into looking at the tank. But let's go over the gun, because that's the most important part of the tank. So the AP is 227 penetration, and it got 1043 shell velocity. As you can see, it's not the slow. Sometimes armored tanks have very slow shells for some reason, because of a nerf or something like that. And we have 360 alpha with the AP and APCR. But the APCR shell is at 289 with 1304 shell velocity. And here I am thinking, what the hell am I doing? I basically parked myself to be able to shot in a three-way situation here. And I realized that, no, it's better not to stay here. And then the HE is 420 alpha laser with a 62 penetration and 1043 shell velocity. So it has the same pen and shell velocity as the regular KV4 gun, except for the 360 alpha, which it's quite devastating. Because the reload, the base reload is 8 seconds, so you get down to 6.7, 6.5 seconds reload. So this is a tank you can just park it up in the face and just go ham at people. And that's pretty much how you have to play this one. You go to a side or go to a corner, you have to fulfill being aggressive. Because as soon as you start being passive, that's when they get the advantage on you, and that's when they get to put their will upon you, and you don't want that. You want to put your will upon them. And in this game I'm trying out some different equipment, the turbo hardening and rammer, but it's not. Oh my god, I did not pen that. And I rushed the shot a little bit, so now we're in wide open. He got a little bit of easy shot, and then I rushed that one as well, unfortunately. Car, and I'm focused as I were playing here, as I'm trying to commentate this game, and there we have it. The fast reload really kicks in for us. Oh, do a little mistake here. Didn't expect him to actually move up, so I put a track shot on him. Hopefully, no, we didn't. And now we set up the good little side script here, and there we have a lucky little track shot. And now we did a mistake by going forward. But I'm also testing the tank, see if they can find a good target to shoot at. Wait for him to move around. But you can see the mobility is not that great of the tank. Top speed is 35 in base, and you've got only 10 reverse speed. And now we know the S-tank is up there. So the sort of speed mobility is not your thing when it comes to this tank. It's all about getting up to a corner and side scrape it. And even then, we're gonna have some problems. Oh yeah, the turning is actually pretty solid in this tank. As you can see, you can really start swinging with it. It has that nimbleness. But bait the track and work. We know we have the faster reload than him. We're gonna utilize this fast reload and this good alpha. That was right on the cusp of his reload almost. Let me take our time here. easy to actual. Maybe my Pershing can finish it. Sorry, Super Pershing. And then I bounced. Oh lord, I bounced that one. But the Super Pershing did finish it, so good job, little Super Pershing. So the turning is not that bad when you have a turbo slash IRM on it. Then you can actually get around and move around the place. The armor is the #1 thing when it comes to this tank. It's the armor and the gun, but the armor holds up in tier 8 except for those really big guns or really high pen guns like the PTK TVP or the STRV S1 or I can't remember another tier 8. Oh yeah, ISU 152k I would say. Those kind of a nasty pen, those tier 10 pens. That's when you start to falter, or the armor start to falter. 122 TM is a good example as well. I just remind myself now I see it. But in the frontal hull armor you have 200, which is a lie, but it says it's 200. And then 125 side and back. And the turret armor is 250 front and 125 side and back. So it's pretty much like same kind of armor around the tank. And why I say it's a lie in the front, that's because the absolute frontal plate is not 200. I feel like it's less than 200 because I am getting so easily pinned in the frontal hull, I must say, frontal hull. And the turret has a unique weak point, I would say. Oh, here was the HVK-30. Making sure we hit that HE. Ah, we didn't pen it, unfortunately. We have 420 alpha. And here we see him going. We try to time it. And we just fire. And I can confirm that's a blind hit. So we got him right there. So the turret armor is the one that's really good, the 250. But you have a huge cupola. And you have weak point uniquely on this tank as well. It's like it's not on the gun mantle, it's just besides gun mantle a little bit. So it's a little bit odd. I will show when we get into the garage. I will show up and point out and direct you to what's the weak point and what's not the weak point of the turret. Because it comes with it backfires a little bit. But because you want to side scrape, but more on that in the garage. And here we see the Scorpion missed the HVK-30. Maybe we can pick up the last kill here. We do have clogged in a 5k damage. Ah, and he ram killed him. Alright, good job, Scorpion. But that was my game here in Lost City. Oh, sorry. Ghost Town. Let's hop into the next one. Here we are at the Fisherman's Bay in the next game. And the tank is looking a little bit different now. I thought that the Chaos Undivided camo would look a little bit more solid on something like this. I'm actually admiring the paint job. Oh yeah, it looks pretty neat. Looks pretty neat. I like it. Instead of I can't remember what the other camo I had, but it was some other camo. I don't know. But the KTTS is I don't want to say it. I do want to say it's a good, bad tank. I mean, it's a bad tank. When you perform good, it makes you feel even better kind of tank. And the gun is kind of nice, actually. Oh, about the gun, we do have a problem when it comes to the gun. You have a gun elevation of 20. And then you have a gun depression of -5. But it doesn't stop there. The thing is, sometimes you might think, oh yeah, it's great to, you know, face hug with this tank. No, it's not. Because you can't aim their lower plate. There's struggles with that. In every little hull, every little, I'm thinking of the hull here, but every little hill, inclination, everything that goes upwards becomes really awkward with this tank because your gun is so far back and you have such a far front, so you kind of lift up, so when you go over hills, you have to really commit yourself. So you want to fight on flat ground, and that's it. Only flat ground. That's like your strongest point. Fight on flat ground and take it from there. And another thing that's really bad on the tank is the 350 base view range. You can get up to full view range, but you need to have a certain amount of equipment and field mods for it. to get up the full view range. But here you see me using that. I'm using like a baseline I like to have. I like to basically not sort of specialize my tank before I get the second set of equipment that I can utilize, so I can always switch between two. Then I like to specialize. When I'm not specializing here, then I have IRM, rammer, and optics on the tank. Just to get up that close to the full view range and be able to fight in close quarters. Oh, there's another KV4 KTTS. When we tracked him, maybe we can keep him perma-tracked. Always keep in mind of where your reload is to comparing to his track repair time. There we have the cupola. It's a strong cupola though. Not even with our 227 we can pen it. It has something like 260, 250. I think something like that armor wise. A fun fact about the tank. It weighs actually 100 ton. Yes, this is a 100-ton tank. And they couldn't fit any more armor on it somehow. 100 ton, man. You do not want to ram this thing. And this thing, I mean, you can't really ram with it. It's more like you're nudging people around the place. Here's a good example to showcase the oh, could have been a good armor. Showcase the armor. I'm trying to move around with the gun so I make them harder to aim on one of my weak spots. And this Tiger has the right idea. Pushing up. I have a T-20 behind me that I'm calling for help right now. Maybe I could have let this guy go. But thanks to us turning around and actually following up with his flanking force, he could not do damage to us. But these are two tier 7s. They're a bit of a struggle penning this kind of humongous beast. It's a good show and tell to when this armor really comes into effect. But I have to warn you against tier 10s. Ooh, you're gonna feel pain. You're gonna feel the pain. You have a base camo of 5.42, which is not good. It is not good. And you have a moving camo of 3.25. So if you might think, oh, I'm just gonna sit and snipe with this thing in the back. I mean, you can do that, but you need to have a solid cover. This Aston Rex has no idea what hit them. Oh, this Crusader is moving. Ah, we missed that shot, unfortunately. So at that 1,400 hit points, it's actually quite considerable. Like you saw me in the first game, I did mount improved hardening on the tank, but I think it doesn't. I mean, it needs it, but it also doesn't need it. You kind of want to help the gun, and so it's a tricky little tank. The thing about the tank is just side scrape. I know I say it all the time, but that's the sort of the crux of this tank. And well, usually when all the new tanks that comes out, they're always good at just pull down, pull down, pull down. Well, here's a tank that actually is a good side scraper. I mean, sort of good side scraper. I'm so divided in that. Like it wants to side scrape and it kind of works sometimes, and then it doesn't want to side scrape and it doesn't work. It's just back and forth with that. But I'm having a jolly good time with this tank from time to time. And to be honest, when you have a jolly good time or you have a little bit fun, then you like the tank more. Even though it's dude, every time I look at this tank, I just start laughing a little bit. A little bit of me is like, oh my god, who came up with this design and thought, no, this is great. Oh lord. But every time you have a little bit of fun in a tank, you like it. You don't mind playing it for its drawbacks, for its flaws. And sometimes the drawback and the flaws of a tank makes it more fun. That's what I've realized a bit with this game, actually. You gotta accept the flaws and mistakes and just go with it. Here we have the last little bit. I'm feeling very courageous now. I'm not getting spotted first time I peeked out there, and luckily me, I have view range and he don't. He goes to see a good view of when when it's good to have long view range and when it's too bad to not have long view range. But we're both for heavily armored tanks. But you can see since I have the equipment I'm running, I'm outspotting him. The 56 there. And the 56 is probably just want to be, you know, face up and personal. He does not want to play around in the sniping bit because of the wonkiness of that gun. Not much more to say. Yeah, we can just go around and oh, and we pick up another kill. Almost touching that 5k again. But you can see the reminiscing, or the sort of likeness of these two rounds is how I played. Just play this aggressive, far forward, go in, start shooting, and then this T25 ammo racks me. But we don't mind, we have a lot of hit points. And there we go, we clogged in another 5k. And then we hit the Crusaders SP. Can we get the last kill? No, the Panther took it from us. Alright, but it was a good little game again. Let's hop into the garage. And let's get going. This is the garage part. We have the crew, we have equipment, we have shells, we have ammunition. No, we have consumables and then field modification to go over. And also some weak points of the tank armor-wise. But let's start with the crew. So I'm using the Object 263 crew here. One thing that's very annoying with this tank is that you have a radio operator, and there is no other Russian tank destroyer in the game with a radio operator. So I have actually specifically trained this KV-4 radio operator to this tank. So I'll have a premium that has a crew that I don't want. So I guess I gotta wait the next, I don't know, 5 years before another Russian tank destroyer with a radio operator comes out, or if there ever will be one. We will see. So it's very annoying. That's the most annoying part of this vehicle, I would say, is that you need to find a radio operator, train him, or do what I did, use a personal manual book, something. I have so many of them, so I had to use them. But start with the commander. Straightforward. Brothers in Arms, Sixth Sense, Recon. I would say actually pick repair, then Recon, and then most likely firefighting, but I haven't put a fire in this tank yet. And I played over 20-30 games, so I feel like it's a little bit like, is it ever gonna be put on fire or not? So maybe there's some sneakiness with camo there, maybe this has very low when it comes to getting set on fire. I don't mind what it says like in that map for when you check the engine. Oh, he has 12.2% chance of fire. Actually, he has 50% chance of fire now that I look at my notes here. Oh. A 15% chance? I don't know. Maybe not, maybe it has. For the gunner, it's pretty much straightforward. Brothers in Arms, repair, snapshot, because you have actually a kind of a wide reach when it comes to the gun arc is 45 degrees actually. Well, it says here actually 45 gun traverse limits. And then camo / firefighting. I don't see the Deadeye here. It's 107mm. I mean, you could pick a Deadeye before camo or firefighting, maybe, but I don't mind playing without it. And then we have the driver, which is straightforward as well. You kind of want to have this is important. The Brothers in Arms, the off-road driving, repair, clutch braking, and then you probably want to sneak in a smooth ride there, because you do go straight forward a lot with this tank, and you kind of want to be up and close to personal. So the smooth ride will actually help when you or around the place and when you're moving up or when you're gradually taking up the position, because it helps a little bit with the aiming. And the radio operator, Brothers in Arms, situational awareness, repair, and then firefighting or camo first, depending on your pick. For the loaders, you have 2 of them, so you gotta pick. For both of them, gotta have intuition, but we go with Brothers in Arms, intuition. And then I like to switch there with adrenaline rush and safe stowage, just for funsies. You don't really need to have adrenaline rush. You can just pick repair in both of them, and then you can pick adrenaline rush and then safe stowage. And then we finish off with the camo slash firefighting for the 5th skill. For the equipment, this is my sort of base equipment, the IRM. I should just call it RM, rotation mechanism, because there is nothing, there's no tool out there that called rotation mechanism, and also I don't know why it's called improved rotation mechanism. I don't know why it just could call it rotation mechanism, because the bounty version is called bounty rotation mechanism. So I just remove the improved. But have been starting calling it IRM all this time, so I'm gonna keep calling it the IRM. And then obviously the optics, and then gun rammer, just for the full view range, just to make it good enough on all the maps out there. And then I actually figure out, as I was testing a little bit, that I like this setup when it comes to the city maps or small maps, when you pick the IRM, turbo, and then rammer. You could say you should have turbo on the big maps, but I like to prioritize the view range. I like to see what's trying to shoot me, and I like to see what I can shoot, because if I don't, then what the hell am I doing on the battlefield then, if I can't see shit? And the shells, I like to go full out a lot with the AP here, because it has good pen, good shell velocity, it's good enough, and it has a solid damage. 35 APCR, it's just to have some kind of weapon versus those big nasty tier 10s out there, and some couple of HEs just for, you know, knocking down trees or finding HVK 30 out there. And then we have field modification, first aid, repair, and consume. And now let's hop into the field modification, which is straightforward. You pick the best field modification out there, the reinforced suspension. With the durability, maintaining speed, this is a huge bonus for this tank. And then we want to pick the smaller aiming circle, so we get that final solution aim down to 31, which is respectable. It's workable, I think. And then we have the thing that gives us view range, so we can get up to full view range when we're moving. We don't mind the casino auto firing at all. And here I like to pick scouting just for my first build, but if you're using improved hardening, I would say pick the survivability then. Maybe you could toss out the turbo for the improved hardening. That's something I was thinking about as well. I just really like it when the tank becomes a little bit more nimble around on the battlefield. It's not like super good, but I will also test a little bit more with the improved hardening, see if I like that more. But initially, I like the turbo. So let's go over some weak points of the tank. As you can see, it's quite of a big boy here. This entire plate here, like the middle part, is where I want to aim. So you can aim on these two pulleys. No, it's not pulleys. I know what they're for. They're for getting the tank out of mud, or if it's stuck and such. I can't remember the name. Oof, my English is escaping me. English is not my first language. But back to the tank, we want to aim in the dead center of this area. That's the soft belly of the tank. You don't want to go lower here like you do on most tanks. You want to aim in the dead center here. So aim on these two things and it's gonna be perfectly fine. The other part, which is what I want to call the uniqueness a little bit, is that it's not weak on the gun mantle. It's not weak just beside the gun mantle, but it's weak right here on this sort of flap of armor, depending on where you're aiming at or where you're coming from. Also, you can hit this sort of flat space here. I wish this flat space was also like hidden, because I've been penned here more times than I thought I would. But it's essentially this is the weakest part of the armor of the turret, right here. And then you have the cupola also, which is a weak point. Like I think it's in the dead center here is the weakest, and then it's a little bit more armored around it. But this and this is where you want to aim. If you have a low penetration gun versus this one. If you have a high pen or I would say 250, just aim the cupola and you smash it. Just smash that cupola. Because it's big, it's easy to hit. And when you start side scraping with this tank, the first thing they see is this weak spot and this weak spot. So before you can shoot with this thing, they can shoot you. So you have a little bit of a deficit there. But I don't think I have more to say about this tank. All in all, I do have a good time with it, but I do recognize that its flaws, how that is not a strong tank, but it can be a good tank when you get going with it. Like I showed this these two games. But it's a tank that scales badly when it moves up the ladder. That means when you have to fight tier 9s and tier 10s, then you have to be a little more methodical in thinking about your engagements and setting up more passively. But as soon as you're tier 8, and as soon as you're top dogging, oh, you gotta be aggressive with this thing. And that's when the funness comes out. But that's my little review of the KV4 KTTS. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you around.